Good morning.
Hey everyone. So no, we are not Jason. Jason is away for a couple of days at the moment, and he's asked obviously a couple of guest speakers to come in. So this morning you've got myself, my name's Karen, and this is Lou.
Hi.
We are coaches with Positive Real Estate that work with Jason. And just a little bit of quick background. So we're investment coaches. We work with our clients. I've been working here with Jason for 8 years now, which has been an amazing ride. And I know, Louise, you've been around probably even a little bit longer than me.
A decade.
A decade.
Oh
my
a century,
gosh.
a decade, so 10 years with Jason. So we're very, I think this is one of the first times he's entrusted coaches with his baby, with his coffee chats, which he loves. So we feel very fortunate.
We could have a lot of fun with this morning. What are we going to do?
We came up with a few ideas what we were going to talk about with you guys today. So welcome, Tom. Welcome, Sharon. I can see you're on. Hi, Kevin.
Awesome. So we can see all the chats are coming through. So we are completely new to this format. So guys, you're going to have to just really run with us here and let us just do this. We can't stuff it up too badly, can we? But what we want to do today is, and something that Jason asked us to share with you, is some of the things that we actually do as coaches in our day-to-day role. And one of the things we do is we spend time with our clients and help them find, there's the small things that they can do to just get a better and better result out of what they're doing with investing. And we've got some really cool tools that help us do that. And one of the tools that we've got allows us to really have a look at what people can borrow with different lenders, what we can shift and change in their scenario to help them maybe get a little bit more money, get to that next property. And I did one scenario with some clients earlier in the week that was just a really pretty powerful explanation and example of just some of the things that you can do when you have something in front of you that allows you to really just test out the different things that you can do before you actually have to put money down. You can't get back and take action and then go, oh God, that was the wrong thing to do. So we get to build the scenarios and make sure they work first, and then once we've found the right one, we go off and help our clients actually implement them.
Absolutely. So it's a bit of a behind the scenes look today, and we'll be sharing with you some of the private intel that mortgage brokers have access to, but quite often consumers don't. So Karen's got a great model that we'll want to showcase with clients, how she broke through and found a way forward. So that's great. We'll share that, but also do a few nuances as well and look at, well, what is the impact of a $10,000 credit card? What if you do get a novated lease or a car? And just look at ways like bank. It's in the media, it's in the news, it's been finance. I've been in property for 30 years now, 30 years, and it's the tightest period of time to get finance. So Jason's raved about it, ranted, raved, same thing for many years now. We're like, it's coming, it's going to stop, it's going to loosen. And, the credit squeeze is here, guys. So, we can't change the environment that we're in, but we're certainly very creative and we can know how to jump the hurdles, how to navigate through it and over the top of it. And that's essentially what we do all day, every day, isn't it, Karen?
Pretty much. This is a little bit of a behind the scenes look at our job, and you might think that this is great, but you might also think, oh my God, how do you guys do that? I could never do that. That just looks like insane. So sometimes I think we think that too. All right, so I'm going to do a little screen share and show you guys just a little bit of what we do here and how we start to break things down. So if I bring that up, can you guys see my screen? Or is it stopped working? We've kind of got it all going on here because we're actually traveling at the moment in Melbourne as well. And we're operating out of a hotel room trying to get all this working. So we've got 2 laptops and poor lighting and the whole lot going on. So, okay.
I think it's working fine. So that's good.
Yeah, so, guys, get someone in the chat just to give me a yes. You can see that screen, okay? I think you can. I just not.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
awesome. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Luke.
All right. So it's called Quickly, and what Quickly does is it allows us to, on the fly, see what banks clients can actually borrow money from. And as you can see, there's a nice big list here of banks. And it's not exhaustive by any stretch of the imagination. These are the banks that are preloaded in this tool. And there's a nice cross section and suite. You can see here we've got the lower end lenders like your La Trobes, First Mac, Peppers. We've got the majors in here, ANZ, Westpac, that in there as well. So there's a really good suite of lenders. We can see, on the fly then exactly what shifts and changes clients can make to then be able to change their situation and move forward. So these are clients that I was working with on Wednesday. Feels like it was longer than that, but it was actually on Wednesday. And they've just finished an equity release, and they've got the money sitting there now. And we're talking about what their next property needs to be, what their purchase is. And I've just taken away their names and take away any personal information about them for you guys, so that they're not identifiable. But essentially, this is the scenario. So our brokers work with us on this, and the broker gave me back the scenario. So it's got all of their information in it as is today. So their incomes, we've got their current rental incomes. I'll step through this in a bit more detail. And we've got their existing loans, credit card, and then their living expenses. So these are all the things that are going to impact someone's ability to borrow money from a lender. Now, I can't see the chat right now, so Lou, I'm relying on you for any questions. So at the moment, and this is the scenario I got from the broker, in their current situation, the most that they're really able to purchase as their next property is a property. And if I come down here into the rental income, they've got 1, 2, 3 properties that are currently rental properties. They've actually moved out of Canberra, so they've got their home rented at the moment while they're living elsewhere, and we'll decide later on what's really going to happen with that, if they're going to move back or not, or go somewhere else. I think at the moment their retirement plan is to actually move to the coast permanently. And we've got in here their proposed next purchase. And as you can see, at a $550,000 purchase, they're really working with just one lender, which is La Trobe. And we know that when we get into these bottom lenders, interest rates get a little bit less friendly. But long-term game, have the long-term game in mind. We don't stress too much about the interest rates. We just want to see what their options are. But if we're dealing with one lender and it's La Trobe, it starts to really narrow down the client's options, their strategy, locations, types of property. It starts to narrow it down dramatically. And as we know, as investors, the more choice we've got, the more opportunity we've got, the better our decision-making process can be. So in this scenario, can the clients buy a property at $550,000 and move on to their next property? Absolutely. However, can we get them a better result? And this is the question. So I met with the clients and we looked through a couple of different scenarios, like, well, what happens if we can improve income? And both of them said, well, look, I'm kind of getting maybe some bonuses coming through fairly regularly, and I can maybe get another $10,000 in my income. So we could increase their income a little bit, and we can see straight away we've got another lender now coming into the mix, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So for those of you that are phoning in from the phone, dialing in from the phone, with La Trobe, it's showing 706 borrowing capacity. First Mac, so green means green light, so that they can lend, and First Mac at 570. So quite a difference. And the next one is 426. So you can see on the screen a big difference between Gateway, UBank at the lower of the screen in red at 196.
Come all the way down.
So even Bank of Queensland, ING, zero.
Nothing.
Bank of Queensland, $1,900. Thank you. Well, sorry, 1901. Thank you, Bank of Queensland.
Yeah.
All the way up to, so massive difference, where First Mac 570 and La Trobe 706.
Yeah.
So Mitch Vanson, hi Mitch, nice to see you on here. It is a subscription, so it is a internal license subscription. It's not available to the general public. It's only available to licensed mortgage brokers.
Correct.
Wow.
So getting increasing income can help these guys a little bit, but it's not going to change their world. So then we started talking a bit more about what their options were, and one of the properties they've got in Canberra in particular, so anyone that knows Canberra or has property in Canberra knows that Canberra has a pretty high land tax thing going on there. And this particular property is actually getting quite old. It's needs some maintenance. It really doesn't have any depreciation on it. And it's at the point where at some point in their future, they will need to sell one of the Canberra properties. So we decided to have a look at what that might be the better option. And we can see here this property in Canberra, its value is 730, but it's only getting 480 a week in rent, which is a pretty low yield. And with the downside of not really getting any tax advantage out of it, we thought, well, what happens if these guys actually sold this property? What does that open up for them? It has some good equity in it. And hey, David. And it has some good equity in it. So they'll be able to use that to pay off a little bit of debt. And from there, they can, so I'm just looking at chats coming through at the same time. I'll try to just concentrate on one thing at a time. And what would that do for them in the future? So with this tool, it becomes really easy to start to test the scenario. So let's remove that property. We're just going to hide it. I'm not deleting it, so I can actually bring it back whenever I want to. So I'm just going to hide it, and then I'll just go down here a little bit further, and I'll take out the loan that is actually linked to that, which is the second loan. So I'll take that out of the mix. And as soon as I do that,
Voila.
You can see what a difference it actually makes to their outcome. Okay. Now with the
lots of green. Which I like.
So then with the cash that comes out of that, it also means that it would be we'll be able to reduce some debt in there too. So we'd be paying around about $100,000 off this mortgage to start with. And again, that starts to improve the numbers. Then if we know that the guys can actually borrow more money, we can then start to say, well, if we can increase their purchase price, so in here, so what we do to make our life really easy and not have to keep recalculating numbers all the time, we just set our rental yield at 4.5%. So we're not doing anything crazy. We're just going to work through some really conservative scenarios here. And then when we start to look at actual properties, we can get more specific with the numbers.
Yep. It brings me on. Tim had a great question. I suppose the yield of the property will affect the outcome. And yes, it does. So anything that's negatively, anything that's a low yield will definitely do that. So when coaching and talking about strategy with clients, often it's not always about capital growth. Always it's a matter of, well, maybe you need to go to this market with a higher yield rather than this market, because that's going to allow you to springboard into the next property, and the next property. And so behind the scenes, having software like this, I know there's lots of clients online.
Change that to a 5% yield right now. You can see again, it's already bumped that up a little bit more.
But banks do shave it a little bit as well. So, if you're looking at Airbnb income or 8% or 7%, banks don't take that into consideration as well. So banks, the sliding scale between the banks, some will shave it off to 90, some 80, some will even shave it down to 50% of the rental income as well. So a good mortgage broker will know that. That's really the next level of detail.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why we just run with the conservative 4.5 at the moment. Or yield lock.
So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go really crazy here and just see what this actually does if I want to increase their purchase price. So as soon as I start increasing the purchase price, it is also increasing the rental income in here. So by doing that, let's get out of that, you can see again that that's now opened up even more lenders because we've been able to bring in a higher rental income as well. So it's quite, then if they do get those pay increases into the future, which I won't even worry about today, but you can see how we can start to really test out the scenario. Now, these guys haven't sold the property yet. They're not going to sell it anytime soon. What we're now working on is a strategy on how they're going to buy their next property and make all this work in a really comfortable way. But I just thought it was a really powerful example of, how we can use some tools and get that support to be able to help brainstorm ideas and really pull apart a situation to see how we can actually get a better income, a better result out of what we've got to work with at the moment. So I think
cool.
that was helpful.
Excellent. So I would like, and if there's any scenarios you want me to jog into the screen, please pop them into chat. Now, so you can see here over here the HEM. So I'll just zoom in a little bit. So HEM expenses. HEM stands for Household Expenses Monthly.
something like that.
Yeah,
We're trying
I
to
can't
get
get
it
it back. Yeah, so
back.
there we go. Household expenses monthly. Okay, so what that means is that the banks assume what your expenses are. So with UBank, for example, they say 4.9. It might be that your household expenses is only $3,000, but they say a little bit higher. So I'd love to look at. You would have heard people say, credit card limits. So for those of you,
Yeah.
so let's add in a credit card and see what difference it actually
too far out.
makes. Because it used to be that if you had a credit card sitting in your drawer, and you basically, if you paid it off every month and you could show 6 months history, then you wasn't taken into consideration. But those days are long gone, since APRA, the finance review. And if you haven't heard Jason talk about it before, even if you've got a $30,000-$40,000 limit and it's sitting in the drawer, never been used, banks still take that into consideration, that it's absolutely maxed out. Okay, so
I'm just putting a car loan in here just so we can see what happens in here.
So we'll put a car loan, put a credit card, and see the difference. What it
I'm losing my
actually
screen.
makes here.
So I'll just put a car loan in.
50 grand.
I don't know why that's not scrolling for me. Anyway, okay. And so I'll just put a car loan in. Often people have higher credit cards.
10%. It's a good car loan. If you give me one for 5, I'll take that.
I don't have that kind of debt, so I've got no idea. All right, so let me just calculate that. There we go, and that's reducing their capacity. Again, if they had a higher credit card, so often people maybe have like a $10,000 credit card limit.
Look at that. Oh, yeah.
So again, you can see it really starting to shorten the list of lenders. If we take out the credit card, we get some borrowing capacity back. If we take out the car loan, we're now up to almost $1 million with First Max. So, all that can have quite a big impact on someone's outcome. So cool. Beautiful.
Okay, Tim's asking, I suppose the further along the journey, you might be limited to certain yields unless you restructure to sell properties to reduce debts.
Yeah. And just when we talk about selling properties, I know Jason always talks about buy well, never sell. And absolutely, we are completely, to sell a property is actually a really, really big decision. It's really hard to get property. And when we've got a property, we don't want to let them go unless there's a really, really, really clear outcome for doing that. And that's where we can actually test out. And we've got a couple of other tools we use separate to this. This is just to look at what banks can actually do for a client. We've got other tools, and I know Jason's showed them on here, the passive income calculator. So we can then take this and say, well, if we don't have that property in Canberra, but we can get 2 more properties elsewhere, what does that do for their outcome and their long-term results? So we're doing that analysis. So before they even make that decision to sell a property, we're making sure that it moves them forward. Because if you sell a property and it doesn't move you forward, then that's just a huge loss. So it's not a decision that we take lightly. It's something that we actually do with a lot of careful consideration.
Absolutely. Buy well, never sell. But we amended that a few months ago. So buy well, sell strategically.
That's it, absolutely.
That, Jason and Andy, that's their new saying. It doesn't flow as well as buy well, never sell. But
that's right, absolutely.
And certainly, if something's holding you back in life, then maybe it's worth looking at way to carve forward. Especially with the advantages and disadvantages.
I'm going to just stop sharing this screen for a moment. Hang on a sec. All right. Okay. Working out the technology here as we go, guys.
Doing well. It's going smoothly.
So if we stop sharing, I don't know if it stopped sharing, I'll have to actually stop it. But anyway, cool. So this is the Karen and Lou show. So I hope you guys have really enjoyed spending some time with us this morning. We've enjoyed spending some time with you guys. And hopefully we haven't mashed up Jason's Wealth Coffee Chat too much. Thanks Jason, for giving us the spotlight.
We'll be back.
So guys, what else does Jason say? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And,
have a great day.
Have a great day.
Tune in tomorrow. Jason will be back.